much like yourself.
This is way over my head when it comes to cell phones and computers. Don't forget, I grew up 3/4 of my life. There was no cell phones.
Me as well. Oh, much like yourself.
This is way over my head.
All right.
I got to get my granddaughter when I have to know how to do something on here. She's 12.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't own a computer before 2010. And I remember my daughter was like second grade and she was like, oh, these are the keyboard shortcuts. I was like, the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, my daughter sets up my phone and everything. I don't know anything about it.
What?
I like to see wood and gears and metal and steel and cables and pulleys and everything like that, you know.
Me too. Me too. But all right, Paul, I'm gonna kick it off if you want to get going here.
Oh, I thought we were going.
All right. So I want to thank everyone for joining the Boston Reefers Society meeting tonight. We have Paul Baldassano, a multi-decade reef and fish keeper. So just to give you a brief bio of who Paul is. So he's had fish since about 1955 or so, freshwater, of course. And then in 1971, when he got back from Vietnam, and a few months before, he set up a brackish water tank. He was drafted into the Army when he just got out of high school at 18. Then he noticed a place in Manhattan, a very large aquarium store called Aquarium Stock Company. That spanned an entire block near the World Trade Center. They got blue devils in, which he never heard of. He bought some for, he thinks, $7 each. He had them in a 40-gallon tank, which was brackish. So he just added more salt to make it full salt. That tank is still running, and now, of course, is a full-blown reef. Those blue devils spawned many times, and he was blown away, which started his life with salt water. He's also a certified diver with about 400 hours logged underwater. He was a mechanic for General Motors, then a construction electrician in Manhattan for about 46 years or so. He's now retired and being with his wife who has MS. I don't know if you want me to read all this, whatever.
You don't have to read it all.
Yeah. So he lives on Long Island, and he has 2 aquarium-related patents, and he wrote a book called The Avant-Garde Marine Aquarist. So whoever is in the raffle has the opportunity to win a book from Paul. So,
and 100% of those profits goes to MS. I don't keep a nickel of that money.
Nice. That's awesome.
It's not a fortune.
So just to start off, Paul, again, I want to thank you for taking the time out, to share your story with us. The first question I'd like to ask you is, how long have you been involved in the hobby? Minus what I just read, that little excerpt.
Minus what you just read, 1955? Sure. Well, saltwater started in Germany before here, but it started here in 1971.
Yeah, thanks to go live. Sorry.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the saltwater started here in 1971 in Aquarium Stock Company, where you mentioned before. And every place that had salt water in those days had a big sign in the window saying, we have salt water, which meant they had a tank full of dominoes and a couple of blue devils. And they weren't expensive. They weren't cheap. So I saw the blue devils, which of course I never saw. Nobody ever saw them before because they were bright blue. And, we were used to discus and angelfish and clown loaches and stuff like that. So I bought some of the blue devils. I took some water from the East River, which is mostly oil, and probably died. And I went and got some more, and they were expensive. And then eventually I got them because of blackworms. I started feeding them blackworms, and that's how I realized that fish wouldn't get ick anymore. And we thought fish all had spots in those days. But when you start feeding them blackworms and giving them the right living conditions, they don't get ick anymore. And then they started spawning, and they spawned for about 7 years. And that was the start of that tank is still running, but that's the tank behind me, except it was 40 gallons then. And then it was 100 gallons for about 40 years. And now it's this 125, which when I moved here, I bought this on the way here, threw it on a truck because the old tank was all scratched. I threw everything in big vats and I stuck it over here. And I filled it up with water from the ocean, and the cop chased me away because he said you needed a permit for a boat ramp, which I didn't have. So he says, there's no argument, get the hell out of here. So the tank sat here about 7 inches low of water for about a month until I found another place to collect water. And that's how I started. What else you want to know?
Firstborn. No, I'm just kidding.
Then
Well,
at that time, of course, it was only fish. And
yeah.
then and one of the fish that was one of the first ones imported for some stupid reason was Moorish idols, which nobody could keep alive. Moorish idols are very, very common fish in the South Pacific and Hawaii, probably the most common fish. Pretty hard to keep alive, but that was one of the most, that was the first, one of the first fish imported after the damsels and the clownfish and all of that. And then they came out with arrow crabs and banded coral shrimp and hermit crabs and starfish and urchins. Then all that stuff came in. Coral came in later. I don't remember when, but coral came a lot later. And of course, there was no test kits. There was no copper, liquid copper. We had to use pennies, 20 pennies to the gallon.
20 pennies to the gallon, huh?
Yeah, I got that from Robert Strawn. 20 pennies to the gallon. And so if you had the 10-gallon tank, you had to put a couple of hundred pennies in there. And there was no test kit. So if the fish was laying on the bottom, you put in too many pennies. And if the fish was dying of ick, you don't have enough pennies. So it was hard in those days. You know, now you got the stupid test kits and you got the liquid copper and all that. I got a bottle of copper here. I got half of it left. It's from the 70s.
Wow.
I don't use that for anything. My tank is immune. I know nobody believes that, but it's immune. Some of them fish at 34 years old.
Wow. That's crazy.
Probably older than you.
Definitely not older than me, but pretty close. One of the guys wants to know, Paul, Doug Murray, he's asking if you're still collecting water.
You know, I do, but the problem is about 6 months ago, I changed the water and I got a produce farm in there. Algae grew like crazy because it rained like hell around here. And I'm surrounded by golf courses and farms. And the golf courses and farms, you know, they put a lot of fertilizer on the plants, and it all washes. I'm 176 feet up over here, so it all washes into the sound behind me. And if I change the water when it rained that week, the tank is full of algae. Seaweed grows like crazy. So the last 2 times I used artificial seawater, which I don't like.
Yeah.
Next time I change it, maybe I'll go all the way out east and get it where it's a little cleaner. It's too much nitrates in it. It just grows. Because this, as you probably know, this tank had a big problem about 1.5 years ago. I stupidly put in this encrusting sponge, photosynthetic encrusting sponge, which looked really nice. It was like blue acropora. It was beautiful, but it covered everything. It killed all my SPS. It covered most of my LPS. That's why there's not a lot of too many corals in there now, because it killed everything. And to get it out of there, I had to take everything out of the tank, put it in vats, and I put the rocks outside in the cold in the winter, and it froze the sponge, but it didn't kill the bacteria and all of that. And it's photosynthetic, so it was only the the rocks on the top. The stuff on the bottom I didn't have to worry about. And so far, it's been almost a year. I'm sponge free.
Nice.
But I'm waiting for all the corals to grow back. They're not fully grown like they were, but they're getting there.
Yeah, no, you win some, you lose some, right?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really feel like doing that. I'm too old for that, but I had to take everything out of the tank. What a pain in the ass.
Yeah, that's not fun. So one of the guys here, Chris P, he's asking, what were some of the first corals that you saw being kept in the hobby?
First corals were the soft corals like I got in there now. Leathers were all over the place. Matter of fact, I wrote an article in Freshwater Marine Hobbyist. You know that magazine, Freshwater Marine Hobby, FAMA?
Yeah.
Wrote an article in there, and they put a picture of my tank in there, and it's got these giant leather corals in it. And I think that was the only thing available in those days. The SBS didn't come out till much later. They came out in Germany first, but they didn't come out here. And our water wasn't really clean enough to keep them. You know, especially my East River water wasn't the greatest. So it took a while to get the SPS. But it was all leathers and colt corals, and then you got the first SPSs you got were Acropora, and then you got Montipora. That stuff came out. It was a fortune, but it came out. I don't buy them little frags of anything. I can't stand those things. You see some people's tanks, it's nothing but these little frags. You know, that annoys me.
That's how mine's about to be.
I break off them
That's how it is
little
now.
stand things and glue them onto a rock. Yeah, I hate them little cement things. That drives me crazy.
Yeah, I remember the days of going by, $40, $50 pieces that were size of a softball. I can remember going to Dong's house back in 2005. He had like 5, 6 tanks in his old house, and he'd be like, "Oh, how many polyps? How many polyps of these zoanthids do you want?" He'd be like, "I don't know. How much are they?" He's like, 50 cents each. I'm like, "Give me 50." He'd
Wow.
take out he'd take out a rock the size of, a beach ball, hit it with a hammer. You
Yeah.
get, 40 or 50 extras for free.
I got a good guy here. I got two stores here. They're about 15 miles away. One of them is a filthy, disgusting place. He's been there for 50 years, but he gives stuff away for practically nothing. And one of them is a nice, clean place. He's got a kangaroo walking around, a wallaby,
Yeah.
and got lizards and snakes and frogs and everything in there. But he's very expensive. Like I got a couple of red wasp fish in here. I love those things. I can't show you because my camera don't go that far. But I got a couple of red wasp fish. The one guy wanted 125 for them, and the dirty store got them for 25. So you can't beat it with a stick. He gives me like little clown gobies and firefish and all of that for like $8. The other guy did 25. So
Yeah.
I don't care if the store's filthy. I don't have to live there.
Right.
And I just bought about a 5-inch hammer coral, $60, which I think is pretty cheap.
Oh. Yeah, I don't really know the prices of a lot of things these days.
Well, hammer corals are normally pretty expensive. The other guy would charge about 150 for that piece, 5-inch hammer coral. But you guys might know the price is better than me. I don't buy that many corals. I don't know.
Yeah. I just spent so much money on the system. I'm like not even trying to buy corals at this point. I'm like, whatever I have in there, it's gonna grow. It's gonna grow for a while. Maybe next year I'll start,
Yeah, mine's going to grow. I mean, it was totally full before I took the sponge out, and it's about half full now, but it's got a lot more growing to do.
Nice.
Yeah, the soft corals grow very fast, especially if you put natural seawater in there. They like to
Yeah.
slug.
Some of the guys up here run natural seawater, right? I'm not anywhere near the ocean, but
Well, I got to find a cleanest. You know what I got to do? I got to go down to the South Shore. I'm on the North Shore here by the Long Island Sound, and
yeah.
there's a lot of nitrogen in there, and it just kills it.
Yeah, when I was a kid, this is irrelevant to reef keeping, but the beach where I swam, on the left was a marina, it was like a back river, right? The left was a marina, the right side was Procter and Gamble. In the middle was the beach where everyone swam in the 70s and 80s. It's
Well, I got a beautiful. There's a beach right behind my house, a beautiful beach, and 23 miles across is Connecticut.
yeah.
It's just that and you can see all over the beach. There's that the sea lettuce, that all of us stuff grows all
Yep.
over. It's from the farmers around here in the golf courses. They dump that stuff all over the place, and it just destroys the water.
Yeah.
So I use artificial water, which I don't like at all.
Right.
I still take mud. I take mud out of and sand out of the sound for the bacteria. And of course, my most important thing to keep the fish immune is gut bacteria.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the guys in the club, he's one of the original founders. His backyard's literally, like a bay. And I'm like, I don't understand how you just having just pipe in, run a pipe out in your backyard. You know what I mean? Like just pour the water source like that. Because he used to use natural seawater. Now I think he's using artificial, but
if I wasn't 175 feet up, I would pump it right in.
Yeah.
But it's too high.
Yeah, no,
I don't like artificial seawater, but you got to have the most important thing in this hobby to me is gut bacteria. And I found out today that I can buy earthworms in Walmart.
Oh, wow. No more looking on the side of the road on your morning walks, huh?
No, that's where I usually get them. But I had it. My grandson's coming over he wants to go fishing Sunday. That reminds me, I got to put a bubble or a sea chest in there with the bubbles that goes up and down because they gave me that for Christmas. And every time they come here, they look for the stupid thing. They make salt spray all over everything. But he's coming fishing here, so I had to go buy him a fishing pole. And while I was there, I seen they got the earthworms they sell in Walmart for $4. You get a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
So I don't even have to collect them anymore for the fish.
You just cut them up in bits and you just drop them in the tank. And
yeah. Well, 2 fish in there. That's all they want to eat. Those red wasp fish. They're spoiled, and that's the only thing they want to eat now. But they don't, they're like lionfish. They only eat like every few days. The rest of the fish, I just chop them up in little pieces and give it to them. But mostly I give them black worms, which are, I'm sure you guys all know what, not black worms, white worms. I'm sure you guys all know what white worms are, right?
Yeah, I've never used them. Some of the guys culture them and feed this, feed their and not fish with them. So I've never had them. I always feed the fake stuff.
No, I don't. What do you feed this stuff here?
Sheets of nori. I got all tangs in there. I have like a 9 or 10 inch blonde nazo right now. Won't eat anything except for nori sheets.
I never feed
Like
nori.
stupid fish,
I never feed nori. My hippo tang, they usually live about 10 years. He's never seen nori.
Wow.
He eats worms like everybody else.
I'm gonna have to find some worms. We've been
And
getting a lot of rain over here.
and LRS food. So
Right.
I bought this the other day. I don't use it. I bought this just for a one of these video things, and somebody was asking me about it. There's 55 ingredients in this thing, which I would never use. My fish might eat it. I don't know, but I don't use any dry food because there's no gut bacteria in that. And if you want to keep the fish immune, you got to give them gut bacteria. And of course, you can't quarantine them or medicate them. So that cuts out 3/4 of the hobby.
Yeah. So we got another question from Johnny Racer. He's asking, with the tank that old, do you still test your water on a regular schedule?
No, I normally test when I get interviewed like this because somebody asks me what the parameters are, and I didn't actually test it for this. I tested, when I tested it last when I did that reef bum
Yeah.
thing. What was it, about 6 months ago or something? That's the last
Yeah.
time I did any testing of anything.
I know.
Because the corals are living and the fish are happy and everything's good. What do you got to test for?
Yeah, no, I hear
I
you.
don't. I know people dose everything, and I don't.
I have high nitrates and high phosphates now, like well beyond how I'd rather have them, but things look all right. So,
Oh,
I'm
there
just
you go.
let it take its course.
I got a new picture here.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I did. He went away. How did I get him on there?
Was that Corey?
That was vice president.
Corey, make some noise so he can, so it'll
Hey.
be on his side.
Yeah. Hey, how's it going, Paul?
There he goes. How you doing? You got
I'm
all
good.
kinds of fish. What are you behind in front of a big fish picture or something?
Yeah, it's just a backdrop. You don't want to see my toilet, Mantown, right now.
Oh, okay. Well, my backdrop is just a tank.
Yeah.
It's been in my life since not this tank, but this has been in my life since I'm about 21. I'm 75. But I've had fish since about 54, 55, something like that. Freshwater.
Mike Lemming's saying that he tried a couple of earthworms and his fish nibbled on it a little bit, but mostly left it alone. Maybe his fish is spoiled like mine.
If they can't fit the thing in their mouth, they won't eat it. I mean, even
Yeah.
mine, the worms I got from Costco today, not Costco, Walmart today, most of them are too big for those fish. So I have to chop them up in little tiny pieces because, the worms is bigger than the mouth of the fish. I have to try to get smaller. I got these for fishing.
Right.
But the black worms are not the black worms. The white worms are perfect size, and every fish eats them except for the pipefish and seahorses. They don't eat them, but everything else eats them. That's their favorite food. And to me, that clams and live worms is the best food. If you don't feed that, you're not going to get your fish immune to anything.
Yeah, mine just eat nori.
No, I don't do nori.
They don't like. Sometimes they'll eat frozen mysis, but that's about it.
I do give them frozen mysis because there used to be some big pipefish in there, and that's all they would eat is frozen mysis.
Yeah.
But the rest of the fish eat LRS food and worms and clams.
How many replacement tanks have you had to swap out in the time that you've had your tank running, Paul?
How many replacement tanks?
Yeah.
Well, it started in a 40, and it was in there for about 5-6 years, and then I moved. In that 40, I had Moorish idol, copper band butterfly, French angelfish, 40-gallon tank. Who knew? And a bunch of dominoes and damsels, and I probably had a moray eel in there at one time. But anyway, that was that lasted about 5 or 6 years. Then I moved. I got married. I moved, and then I put everything in the 100-gallon tank. Oh, I was in a wait. I was in a 100-gallon tank, and that stayed there another 5 years, and then I moved it to my last house, and it stayed there 40 years. So that tank lasted 45 years. That 100-gallon. It was a 6-foot long 100-gallon, and I built it into the wall. But after 45 years, it got scratched and everything, and I built it in the wall. I couldn't get it out of the wall unless I knocked the house down. So I sold the house with the tank and everything in it. But of course, I took everything out and put it in vats in the truck. I rented a truck, and I came here and I bought this tank on the way here. Luckily, the guy had the tank because I had vats of live fish in my truck, and I put it here, and I collected the water, and it's only been here for 6 years. But it's been running altogether for 53 years, I think, or 54 years, something like that, since 71. So there's probably some water in there from 71. The gravel's in there from 71. Of course, I had to add more because the tank is bigger, and that's dolomite. It ain't easy to get. You probably never heard of it.
That was gonna be the next question. Somebody just asked if do you or have you replaced your sand bed, and how often? So
54 years ago. Well, no, actually, the original sand bed in that 40 was driveway gravel, bluestone driveway gravel, because they didn't sell any saltwater stuff in those days. So either you had to use freshwater gravel, or you had to go get driveway gravel out of, steal it out of somebody's driveway, which I did. It looked nice though, that bluestone driveway gravel.
Yeah.
But there must have been oil in it and everything else, and I had a few problems with that. So then I got dolomite, which was the only thing available then. You can't get it anymore. They make like tombstones out of it in Sicily or something. I don't know what the hell where they get it, but I don't think it's for sale anymore. I'm sure crushed coral does the same thing, but it's about as big as rice because there's an under gravel filter in there. So it's about as big as rice. You can't use sand. You got to use gravel with an under gravel filter. It's running very slow, the under gravel filter. And after a lot of tests, I figured out that's what I got to do.
just answered my next question. I was gonna ask, still running the under gravel filtration.
It's still running. There's 3 tubes going down, and there's 250 gallons of water down each tube, approximately. I built like a manifold in there. I can't bring the camera over there, but there's like a manifold in there on top, above the water, and there's a power head in the tank behind the rocks, and it pumps water into the manifold, and it evenly puts water into the 3 pipes coming out the bottom, and they bend around the back of the tank by the gravel to the 3 filter tubes.
Yeah.
But you got to run it very slow, otherwise it crashes.
If you were to talk to a newcomer, what's some of the things that you tell them? Don't start. That's what I tell most people that ask me. I'm like,
probably, yeah.
I was talking to a kid the other night.
First thing I would tell him is don't start this. The second thing I was telling him is if you can't afford live rock, don't start the tank. I would never start a tank with dry rock. I know everybody does that. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. It's too much trouble. It's very stupid to start a tank with dry rock. You need the bacteria in it. At least a little real rock. Underneath it, you could put bricks or flower pots if you want, but you got to put at least a little bit of live rock because you need the bacteria from the ocean. That's why I collect mud in bays and ocean. Every time I go collect water or something, I get mud and I just throw it in there for the bacteria.
You put it in the, oh, you're running sumpless, right?
I don't have a sump.
Yeah.
They didn't have sumps when I started the tank, so I never had a sump.
Do you use any automation or any controllers or anything like that, or everything's just?
Oh yeah, it's all automated. Yeah, let me see. You see that bucket, that blue bucket on the ceiling all the way back there?
Yep.
That's the
How to top off.
That's the automated bucket there. The RO water, RODI water goes in there, and then it gravity feeds to a float valve on the tank.
Nice.
That's the automate. And then I got an $8 thing that turns the lights on.
Even better.
That's the automation.
I remember the good old days.
Yeah, there's no automation. I don't really dose, so I don't need a doser, and I don't do any of that stuff. I mean, once in a while I'll throw some alkalinity and calcium in there, whether it needs it or not. I don't know.
Right.
The days with the SPS are gone. I don't have any SPS in there anymore.
That's how I used to dose back in the day in like 2004, 2005. I didn't know if I needed alkalinity or calcium, and then I had ESV Bionic, and I
Yeah,
was like, oh, I'm gonna put this in there. And I was just like, a shot glass every day, and I'm like, why is everything dying?
I got
And then I
calcium.
found out you had to get test kits. I was like, oh,
For calcium, I use the ice melter,
yeah,
and the other stuff I use the baking soda.
yeah, yeah. We used to do that back in the day.
Baking soda is like 25 cents. They sell it to you with a nice angelfish on a cover, and it's $27.
I know,
It's
great.
baking soda. You could buy the expensive stuff if you want.
Right.
And you know what I put in there sometimes? This here. I ran away.
Keep it simple, stupid.
You see this Lugel's iodine?
Yeah,
I bought this bottle in the 70s.
still got it, huh?
There's about 20 drops left.
Nice.
Something I almost never use. But the other day, I had I told you I bought that coral, a 5-inch hammer coral, and it started rotting from one side, like it was just dying, and half of it died. I says, oh crap, what am I gonna do now? So I took a chisel and a hammer and I broke it in half, and I soaked it in 6 drops of this in about a pint of water. The thing has looked freaking beautiful now. It's growing like crazy. I don't know if the iodine did anything or the chisel. I don't know, but I used to dose this iodine, but I must have stopped because this has got to be 40 years old, and there's only still a little bit left. It's like my bottle of copper. That was made in Brooklyn in the 70s, and I still have it. Matter of fact, I got it right here. Copper and formalin. It says for protozoa parasites of marine fish. It's copper and formalin, made in Brooklyn, and it's half full. That's how much copper I used in 50 years.
Well, you had all those pennies, right?
Well, I used to use pennies. The pennies work. You can't use pennies anymore because now they're not made out of pennies anymore. They're probably made out of Toyota Land Cruisers or something. I don't know what the hell they're made out of.
Yeah.
But they used to be made out of copper.
Great.
And then you had to clean the pen when you put the pennies in there for a couple of days. Then you had to take them out and clean them because they get like they get the copper gets, what do you call that stuff on there? It's like tarnish. So you have to take them out and steel wool them, and then you put them back in, and you have more copper in the water. But without test kits, it's not easy. And in those days, everything had ick. You didn't know anything about ick.
Right.
We didn't freshwater dip. There was no medication. There was freshwater medications, which were kind of cool because they were like fluorescent green and purple and stuff. So I used to just put them in there just for the cool colors and then mix them together and it would change color. I don't think they did anything though, those things.
Do you run a skimmer by chance, or
I got a 5-foot DIY skimmer.
Nice.
Which I'm sure it's on my site all over the place. I can't show you because I'm afraid to unplug my camera.
Yeah.
But it's a 5-foot DIY Venturi skimmer.
I'll find some articles and I'll list them here.
With ozone. I got ozone on there too. I like ozone. I don't know why I got ozone, but I run an ozone for many years. It's only about half of what I'm supposed to run with ozone. It's good for water conditions, I think. I made my first ozone generator out of a big neon transformer, but it dimmed the lights in the whole neighborhood when I turned it on. So I think it used a little too much power.
That's great.
But I think it went on fire.
Yeah.
So I don't use that anymore. So an ozone generator is pretty cheap. I think they're about $100. I don't know what the hell they are.
Yeah. There's a couple guys in the club that run them. I don't have one personally. I've looked into them, but it's just another thing to maintain at this point. The way I look at it, but
you do have to maintain it. It gets like crud in there. You have to open it up and clean it out and everything. Like once every month or two, you got to do that. I don't really know if it does anything because I didn't have it on here for 2 years and I didn't notice any difference.
Right.
I don't know. It's just
it's supposed to just clear up the water, right? My understanding.
Yeah.
It's like running I just run a pump with some floss on it, like an old school power filter.
Oh, you know what I use?
Diatom filter of sorts. That's the one you just made, right?
That's one that I just made. I made a smaller one too.
Nice.
Yeah, this one's cool. This one I run with the powder. The small one, I don't need the powder on. But this has a 5 micron canister in there.
Yep,
I made this for about $100. Works beautiful. The small
nice.
small one, I don't need the powder. See, I buy the powder from a swimming pool powder guy.
Yeah,
And if you buy it from Vortec, if they still sell it, it's like $20 for a little bag. But the swimming pool stuff, it's practically free. But you got to buy 5 gallons of it.
yeah. What are you running for lights over that tank, Paul?
Lights. See if you can see them. Cheap Chinese lights.
Nothing wrong with that. Everything grows these days.
Yeah, see the top, I put a hydraulic thing, so it goes automatically.
Oh. Corey, like Oslin's house a few years ago.
See the lights?
Yeah. Just the black
Black
boxes.
boxes.
They're cheap. They're like $70. They
They
don't last
work.
very long.
I won't even tell you what I just paid for lighting over my tank. Should have just got 4 of those.
These are like $70.
I wish.
And I got them dimmed. Yeah, they're like $70. Why would you pay more than that?
Yeah, I hear you. I don't know. Well,
Lights.
that's the same reason why on this system that I just set up, I spent like $1,200 or $1,300 on like fancy colored pipe and fittings that are like pressure rated for way more than my system will ever handle. And then I just decided last week, because my back's bad, I can't kneel down and work in the sump. So I just cut all the plumbing out and then raise the sump up beside the tank. And I'm like, well, that was a waste of $1,200 worth of plumbing
You would have
fittings.
told me I would have gave you my old knee. I got a new one, a titanium.
I could use knees, hips,
I got
and a back at
I
this.
got a new shoulder. I got a new knee. My back is full of cortisone. I'm in good shape.
What do you how'd you come up with the ideas for the Majano wand and some of the other patents that you have?
Mojano wand, actually, back when I had the 40-gallon tank, I had all caves and stuff. So I put these little I'm an electrician, right? So I put all these little light bulbs in the caves with all blue lights and yellow lights and green lights and everything. And I would light them up and there would be lights inside the caves. And in those days, nobody saw a saltwater tank, so people were amazed. And then I noticed when there was no silicone in those days either. So I probably put wax or something on the bulbs. But then I noticed bubbles coming out of the lights. And when you put electricity in salt water, you get chlorine and hydrogen gas. And you could smell it. It smells like bleach on the top of the water. So years later, I found out that those bubbles were hydrogen and chlorine. And I says, well, the stupid Mojanos, if I could inject hydrogen gas into the Mojanos, I figured they would blow up. And they do. So I made a little test prototype thing with the prong on the front.
Yep.
I forgot which one, the positive or the negative, makes the.
I have one in the other room.
Yeah. Well, I got to buy them like you. But if you touch the prong of the thing to the Mojano, it turns the entire animal into hydrogen gas, and it just disintegrates. It works really good. So I tried to get a patent, which I did. Patent was about $35,000.
Wow.
And I got the patent, but I was making them by hand myself. I think I was charging $70 a piece for them. And then I got so many orders, I said, I don't want to sit here and do this all day long. So a kid who's got a fish tank, he says to me, we could go into business. My father has a factory in Florida where they make heart valves. He says, and when they don't have any heart valves to make, they can make Mojano wands. I says, okay, because I don't do China and India at all. It has to be made here. And so I says, but I don't want the business. You have the business. I'll give you the business. I just get royalties. I don't want to have nothing to do with the business. And that's what we do.
Yeah.
Once or twice a year, he sends me a check and he takes care of everything. I do nothing. It's the kind of business I like.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that, right?
Yeah. I mean, again, it doesn't make a fortune, but they send them out in skids. They sell a lot.
Passive income.
They were selling them in Marine Depot, but they got bought over by something else, and now they're selling them there. These things here, I was going to patent this, but I decided not to. This stupid Mandarin feeder. I'm sure you've seen that. You've seen that, right?
Yeah, I think I saw it somewhere.
You've seen it. A lot of people make them now. That works really good. I should have patented that, but I do have a patent for something like that, a seahorse feeder. And that's what gave me the idea for this stupid thing, the seahorse feeder. But I was making those at home and I didn't feel like doing it. So the patent ran out. Anybody can make those things. Now
Nice.
I'm trying to get a patent on something else I made, but it has to do with furniture, not fish. So we can't talk about that.
Do you have a favorite fish or a favorite coral, Paul?
My favorite fish is probably the blue striped pipefish. I like pipefish.
Yeah.
I used to have dragon face pipefish in there. They're really cool, but they're very hard to keep. They eat more pods than a mandarin. And I got a pair of mandarins. I got a pair of ruby red dragonettes, and I got a couple of them scutablinis, and I got the blue striped pipefish. They all eat pods. Luckily, it's an old tank. You don't have to put pods in an old tank. There's more pods than you know what to do with it there. Copepods. There's a bunch of amphipods in it too, but I collect them in the back over here in the water. What else you got?
Do you still run your do-it-yourself chiller?
No, that was cool. Did you ever see the picture of that?
I did.
That was cool. That I think I made that for my worms. I don't remember, but it was an acrylic box, and the water would go on these plates all the way down, and there was a fan on the bottom that would blow the air up through it, but it would only cool the water about 2 or 3 degrees. But it didn't use any electric. It was only like a little computer fan, but it would do about 2 or 3 degrees, so it worked pretty good. Then I put it on my black worm tank, and it would chill that more because it was only a small tank. And then I think I took it apart and made something else out of it. I don't know what the hell I did with it. It's probably part of my skimmer over here. I don't know what it is. I always, remake things. Like this thing here is my brine shrimp hatchery.
Nice.
This thing is cool. You put the eggs on the black side, and then you cover it, and you put some air bubbles in there, and then when they hatch, you open this door, they all swim over to the light side. So that worked for years when I was trying to raise mandarins and things like that. Which I don't do anymore. I don't do a lot of things anymore.
Yeah.
But
So what's some of the like older methods back in the day and like ideas that you've seen fizzle out over time that are no longer used?
we don't use pennies anymore. Everybody stopped using undergravel filters except me. There's 2 or 3 people that use the undergravel filter. I don't know. Well, I do know why the undergravel filters fell out of favor, because if we ran them the regular way, like we ran in freshwater tanks, they would crash because we ran them too fast, and it would suck in a lot of detritus and everything, and then they would crash. So almost nobody uses undergravel filters anymore. The very few people probably use the lights too now, the metal halide lights, because they're just too damn big and heavy and expensive, and they use a lot of electricity. LEDs is the way to go, except you like the metal halide gives you a nice shimmer on the water. It gives you that nice shimmer. The metal halides don't do that. I mean, the LEDs don't do that, but it's a no-brainer because, first of all, they're cheap.
Yeah.
They don't last forever like they say they do, but you get any spectrum you want out of it. They're not as bright, but I think they do the job perfectly. And except for you, nobody uses filter floss anymore.
Yeah. You gotta keep some old school things in a play, even
my whole body's old school.
Yeah, mine too.
What don't we use anymore? Well, I don't know if anybody uses flake food anymore. I don't. You use flake food. Well, you got that stupid. You feed that dried out seaweed too, right?
I do. Yep.
Sorry, no, my fish.
I go right to the local supermarket. I buy 10 packs of it at once.
No, I never saw that. What I think is the worst thing happening in the hobby now is people are buying fish and they're treating them with medications before they stick them in the tank. I think they're killing all their fish. I think that's terrible. They put copper on them and Prisopro and all of this other crap because they think the fish might have some kind of disease. I think that's terrible.
Yeah, I've never quarantined anything in my life in terms of fish. Just run a UV sterilizer for ick management. Cause I have bought some fish that looked like they were rolled around in pretzel salt, like what the heck is going on
I
here?
throw them right in there.
And then,
I think parasites are a good thing.
yeah,
I like parasites. That's why we get, see, the theory of this tank, and I just wrote a long thing on all the things about how to keep the fish immune. I wrote a long thing on one of your sites there. The big thing is, first of all, no quarantine, because that destroys the immune system of a fish. If you not 20 days, but if some people go quarantine for like 74 days and stuff, that fish is dead. Forget about it. You got no immunity. And then if you put it in a tank, all you have to do is add a piece of coral or something with a parasite on it, and everything's going to die. You gotta. I think we have to try to keep the fish immune from everything, like these fish are. Otherwise, I wouldn't have 34-year-old fish in there. I can put fish in there with all kinds of egg and velvet and what's that new one, Brooklyn Ella or whatever the hell it is. I only see my picture on here now. What happened?
just
I
the
know what
guy,
I know what I look like.
just the technology guy. It's in presentation mode now.
Oh.
He just changed the setting.
Okay. I could close the top of that tank because the lights are blinding me.
Good job, Chris. I get nervous too.
All right. So you guys can see me there.
Yes, sir. Loud and clear. You're nice and big
Good
now.
looking guy, huh?
Yeah.
Uh,
We kind of look alike, except I'm a little more handsome.
yeah. Well, you're a little younger too.
Hold on, let me put my spectacles on. We'll be twins.
Oh yeah. Well, I actually don't need them, just for reading.
I do need mine, but I can't see anything without them. But
Anyway, the people that they take fish and they stick them in copper and quarantine them and Prisopro and freshwater dip them for flukes and all. I think that's ridiculous, and I think they're killing a lot of fish. But their tank isn't set up right. If the tank isn't set up right with all the hiding places and everything where you can't see the fish, you kind of have to do that because the fish are going to get stressed and get sick. It's very important to have hiding places where the fish can't see you and you can't see them. And there's 40 fish in there right now, 40, 50 fish in there. You'll probably only see 6 because there's that whole reef structure. See that? That whole reef structure is about 1 inch off the gravel. It's only touching the gravel in 3 or 4 places. And they could get underneath there and come up anywhere they want in that menagerie of rocks. And they hide all over the tank. So I got fish in there for 2 years I never seen. I think they're still in there. I don't know. And I once had a cusk eel, a brutaloid fish, for 18 years. Never saw the damn thing. The only time I saw it was when I took rocks out of the tank for something. I forgot what it was. And the stupid fish was in the rock. And it got cold down on the floor. I didn't even know the fish was in. He was 18 years old, about 6 inches long, a cusk eel. Thing was cool. But it's very important for the fish to hide where you can't see them. I know people put flower pots and PVC elbows and everything, and the fish hate that. That's going to scare the crap out of them. You got to have tight hiding place. If you scuba dive, I'm sure if somebody here scuba dives, if you scuba dive and you go like 7 feet from the fish, they all dive into the coral head and you don't see them anymore.
yeah.
We stand more than 7 feet in front of the tank and it scares the crap out of the fish. And if you got a tank where they can't hide, they're scared to death. You can't tell by looking at their faces because they don't look like us. But they're scared to death most of the time, the fish. And that's why they get parasites and stuff like that, because it destroys their immune system. Matter of fact, I just wrote too on one of your sites there about the telomeres. I'm sure nobody knows what that is. Us and every living thing has genes, okay? And in the genes, you have chromosomes. And on the end of the chromosome, there's a little thing called a telomere that keeps the twisted gene together. And as we age, those things get shorter. And then when there's no more telomere left, the fish dies or we die. That happens to us after we get to about 80 years old or so. With those things, we don't have them anymore. And then we die of old age. And that's why fish die of old age. That's why everything dies of old age. Those telomeres on the end of the chromosomes, that's their lifespan. And stress shortens those things. So if you got a fish, say, that lives normally 10 years and you quarantine it, medicate and stuff like that, you might shorten their lifespan by 1/4. So if you got a fish that could live 10 years, you might only live 6 years now because you shorten their lifespan with stress. Happens to us too, but We live a little longer than fish.
Do you notice if any of fish, if they possibly get ick from time to time, or like, just any?
My fish don't get ick. Once in a blue moon, especially on the hippo tang, I might see one or two spots, but I consider that a good thing because I want parasites living in there. If there was no parasites living in there, they wouldn't stay immune.
Right.
So I know there's parasites in there because I just put some fish in there a week ago. And when I collect natural seawater, I know there's parasites in there and I want them living in there. To me, parasites are a good thing. These tanks where everybody quarantines the hell out of them and coppers them and everything, those are the fish that die of parasites. This tank is immune because there's parasites in there. And every time I see a spot on something, I'm happy because I know there's still parasites living in there trying to infect the fish. But the fish are immune, so they can't infect them. But it tells the fish's immune system that there's parasites in there to keep making the anti-parasitic substances that's on their slime. Fish have slime, right? And on the slime, the fish makes these substances that kill parasites. That comes out of their slime. Fish make slime all over the place. And the fish will always make slime, even if they're not healthy. But if they don't have any immunity, there won't be any antibodies in that slime to kill the parasites. That's why that tank is 53, whatever it is, years old, and some of the fish are 34. This hippo tank isn't too old, but they usually live 10 years.
Yeah.
And I can throw them in there with all kinds of parasites. It doesn't mean anything.
Right.
But I like parasites. That's just me.
So, do you do anything special for your tank? Like if you go away on vacation or?
Well, we went to Germany once, and I let a girl take care of the tank. And when I came back, the water level was down about 7 inches. So all the corals on top of that 7 inches died because they were not in the water anymore. But I mean, she didn't know. The thing clogged. The thing that puts the water in the tank clogged, and she didn't know. I didn't even say anything to her. But the water level went down 7 inches, and the pumps on the top was splashing water all over the walls and everything.
Oh.
But normally what I do is my best friend lives next door. If I go on vacation and he's here, he'll come over every day and feed them. Like the water goes in automatically, the lights go on automatically. That's really all you need. Fish could go for 3 months without eating. I wouldn't let them go that long. I wouldn't let them go more than like 3 days, but they can go like a couple of months. But somebody comes over and feeds them every couple of days at least. Frozen food. I don't use flakes and nori and all of that stuff.
All the good stuff, right?
It's got to have gut bacteria in it, and all that this stuff here, these flakes, these pellets and flakes, and your sheets of nori and everything, there's no gut bacteria in that. So your fish are not immune.
Right.
So you don't want any fish from my tank going in your tank because it'll kill everything you got.
Yeah. I like to live on the edge.
You are. That's why these fish are immune, and they've been immune. I mean, I've been arguing with people about that since the hobby started, that these fish are immune, and people tell me that I'm nuts. They can't be immune, but they're still there. And
what type of brand of salt? Do you have a preference of salt that you use, the artificial salt?
Atlantic Ocean. Oh, the artificial salt is Instant Ocean.
Instant Ocean, yeah.
I get it in 5-gallon buckets, and I don't change that much water anyway. I change water maybe 3 or 4 times a year. I'll change 40 gallons.
Yeah.
If I get ambitious, and when I go collect it, I collect 40 gallons.
Yeah. What do you do with the natural seawater? Do you run it through a diatom filter or anything like that?
I do. I run it through a diatom filter now because I'm collecting it from the surf, right from the beach, and it's all muddy and green, and it's got chopped up seaweed, and it's disgusting.
All the good stuff.
Yeah, like what I back up to the ocean behind the house over here, and I got a bilge pump on a long hose. I throw it in the water, and it pumps water into the buckets in my car. But it chops up, it's right into 4 inches of water, so it's all full of seaweed and sand and mud and everything. So I diatom filter it. But I sold my boat last year. When I used to have my boat and I used to go out a little bit, I could throw it right in the tank. It was clean. I didn't do anything to it.
Yeah.
But now I don't have to diatom filter it, but well, I guess I do. It's green and it's disgusting.
Do you ever test that water by chance? Like just see what like,
I did. It has no nitrates in it or phosphates.
yeah.
The salinity is very low in the sound here. I could put kissing gouramis and catfish in there. It's
Wow.
very low. So I have to add, usually when I collect natural seawater, I got to add salt to it. It doesn't even read. Like I have my, what do you call that thing? Swing arm hydrometer.
I'll be right there.
I got my swing arm hydrometer here. And see the lines I drew on there? To test this, whenever I go to I used to go to the South Pacific a lot in the Caribbean and everything. I used to take this in the water with me, and wherever it floated, I put a line on here. And that was my calibration. So I got a Key Largo is up here. Bora Bora is down here. So I figured if I get it anywhere between Key Largo and Bora Bora, it's close enough. Fish don't care.
Nice. Corey's gonna take over for a minute. My return pump's blowing air. I'll be right back.
That's because it just leaked water all over his floor.
I hope not.
I don't have a return pump. I guess you need a sump for that.
Yep, you do. You do.
Yeah, no, I ain't got nothing against sumps. They just didn't have them when they started the hobby. But I mean, you don't see anything in the tank, right?
Nope.
You don't see nothing in there.
Nope.
There's one of those what do you call them? Those big
Power head.
Those big long pumps. I forgot what you call them. There's one of those big long pumps on the that side.
Far end. Like one of the gyres.
One of those, yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those on the far end, and there's a smaller one on the other end, and that's the only thing in the tank besides some heaters, but it's all behind the rocks. There's a power head behind the heaters that feeds the reverse. It feeds the reverse under gravel filter, and there's an algae scrubber in there, a do-it-yourself algae scrubber. So the water goes into the diatom filter, not the diatom. The water goes into the skimmer, and whatever water doesn't go through the skimmer goes into the algae scrubber, and the rest of it goes into the under gravel filter. So the one pump does the skimmer, it does the under gravel filter, and it does the algae scrubber. I think I could let you see the algae scrubber, maybe. I have this long wire, but for some reason it doesn't work. I don't know if you can see it from there. Let's see. You see the floodlight on the left side of the screen, and there's like that screen in front of it?
Yep.
That's the algae scrubber.
Very basic.
That's the algae scrubber, very basic. And that's the rest of the tank. There's all sorts of corals in there now, which is what I like.
Now, what do you have for a cleanup crew in your tank, Paul?
I don't know how many crabs are in there. There's a hell of a lot of crabs in there. I don't know how many crabs are in there. There's a lot of crabs in there. There's hermit crabs. It might be a dozen, 20. I don't know. There's a banded coral shrimp. There's an arrow crab. There's a million bristle worms. Not on purpose, but they're in there. And that's the cleanup crew. I'm not big on cleanup crews. I just like them. I like arrow crabs and the shrimp and the hermit crab. I just like looking at them. I don't know how much they're cleaning up. I think cleanup crews are overrated because whatever food is in there, the fish and the bristle worms are going to eat anyway. But I kind of like the arrow crabs and the banded coral shrimp. Actually, I haven't seen that arrow crab. When you put arrow crabs and banded coral shrimp in at the same time, whichever one sheds first, the other one kills it. I don't know if you knew that. And I have trouble keeping arrow crabs and banded coral shrimp because when they shed, the bristle worms kill them. That's why I don't put clams in there anymore. I used to have these big clams in there, but the bristle worms used to get in the shell and eat them. So when your bristle worms get to like a foot long, you got a problem.
Yeah, I bet.
They eat everything. The damn things eat everything. I should put a trap in. I used to trap them because they get big. They could get a foot long. And anything that sheds, they know. They must smell it or something. And they kill it. Any crabs, hermit crabs are okay. They're in the shell. But the arrow crabs and the banded coral shrimp, as soon as they shed, the bristleworms kill them. And they'll kill any clams I put in there now. So if you have an old tank, the bristleworms get too big, you got to catch them. I have a bristleworm trap one of these days. I got to catch some of them. The little ones are okay. And there's got to be 50,000 those little brittle stars in there. They're covering everything. As a matter of fact, you keep getting stuck in the pump, that Geyer pump, whatever it is. They got to take it apart. They get stuck in there, millions of them.
Yeah, you got to clean those like every 4 weeks. They're a pain. I have 2.
The bristleworms, not the bristleworm, those brittle stars, they go into the ends of them, and they thousands of them in there, and they slow the thing down, you know. And I got those stupid Esternia starfish too, but they don't harm anything. They're usually on there at night, you know. Sometimes it looks like the Andromeda constellation when I put on the light. Those stars all over the thing.
Yep.
But that's the only cleanup crew I have. I don't know how many hermit crabs are in it. There was a pair of hermit crabs in it. They were 12 years old. I know they lived and they died a week apart. That might be their lifespan. I don't know. I don't know how long a hermit crab lives. But there's nothing else in there for. Oh, I can see a hermit crab there on the. I see a big hermit crab there on your. Must be the left side of your screen. I don't know.
So myself, I run a high nutrient system, as most of the guys know here. I see you said you haven't done any testing in like 6 months. Where were your nitrates and phosphates when you did test?
I think the nitrates were about 50, but the highest they were in this tank was 160.
Right up your alley, Corey.
Yeah, they went to. I mean, there was SPS and everything in there. I didn't seem to mind, but I was using a lot of natural seawater, and I was overfeeding and everything. Now I think it's about 50. I don't even know. If I would have thought of it, I would have tested it today so I could talk about it. But I don't think it's that important. I know if you got a big SPS tank, you might have to worry about that and dosing and all of that, which I'm not big on either. I got a gallon. I got a gallon of calcium over there. It's there 6 years. So I don't think it's still half full. One of these days. But there's SPS. You know, there's LPS in there. They don't really need that much calcium. So it's not a big thing. I think the last time I tested the calcium, it was 450.
So you said you use ice melt. Which ice melt do you use? Because it's hard to get the old school stuff now.
The old stuff I can't get anymore. I forgot what the name. It was Dowflake.
Yeah.
I don't think I can get it anymore. So now I had to buy some kind of calcium, but it was Dowflake, and I used baking soda.
Yep.
But now I bought some kind of. I mean, like I say, I hardly ever dose, so that $10 bag of calcium and alkalinity will last me the rest of my life. You know, I'm 75. How long can I live? So I don't think the soft corals need that much anyway. But
Hey, you can get a 44-pound bag of Dowflake on Walmart.com for $54.
Yeah, and that would last me for 100 years. That's what happened to the last. That's what I bought one of them years and years ago, and it lasted me so long it got hard and I threw it away. Well, maybe I used it on the ice. I don't remember.
Did you guys used to have salt down sand out there back in the day too? That was real popular around here, the mid 2000s.
Did we have what?
It was called Salt Down, the brand. It was like
sandbox sand.
Sandbox sand.
No.
Everyone ran it in their reef tanks out here.
Sand? Yeah.
Yeah.
This tank's had dolomite in here since about 1972. You know, when I took out the bluestone gravel. The bluestone gravel was kind of cool. It's just that the fish kept dying. I don't know what was the matter with it. And it was too coarse for the under gravel filter. You know, this is pretty nice. This dolomite. It's about as big as rice, but I'm pretty sure you can't get. Nobody even heard of it anymore. I think they make tombstones out of it in Italy. I don't know what the hell they do with it. But anyway, what else you got?
Do you have any locally caught cold water inhabitants in your tank by chance?
Normally, I do. I don't have any right now, but I do put hermit crabs in there, which don't last really long. They'll last a couple of months. I put urchins in there. I used to have a sea urchin business, sea urchin collecting business called Urchin Search and Enterprise. And I used to collect, every time I dove, I'd collect about 50 urchins, and I would sell them all over the country. I'd put them in bags and ship them out and everything. I had 24 of them in here one time. I had no place to put them, and they all spawned at the same time. And the tank looked like half and half. It was, you couldn't see anything, and it was disgusting. And I thought everything was going to die. When it cleared up, I figured everything's going to die. But nothing died. I guess they liked the stuff. But then I took the urchins out of it, the urchins out of there, and I sold them. They live about a year in this warm tank, the urchins. I've put little flounders in there, eels. There might be an eel in there now, a baby eel, because I lost it in there, and he might be a foot long now. I don't know. I don't know if he's still in there. But I've taken little blue claw crabs and flounders and sea robins are cool, but you got to get them out right away because they grow about 1/4 inch a day, and they'll eat everything in the tank. You know, they're like lionfish, so you got to get them out. But they're cool. They got purple fins on them. I'll throw anything in there. I throw a lot of amphipods in there that I catch down by the beach over here. I'll throw 5 gallons of amphipods in there, and they breed in there because there's still some in there, and I haven't put any in since last summer. But there's nothing else in there that I can think of from here, except for some of the rocks. There's some asphalt in there. I got live asphalt.
Nice.
Because when the hobby started, they didn't have live rock. They didn't even have dead rock. There was no rock. But I collected some asphalt that was in the water 50 years, and it was loaded with amphipods because it's very porous. And some of it's still in there underneath the rocks. I wouldn't recommend it because it's made out of tar, but that's what's in there. But like I said, the biggest problem with this hobby is the food. People don't feed gut bacteria. They feed dry food, which is a big no-no to me. Medication, I wouldn't use for anything. And people use that stuff for the cyano. What do you call that stuff? Red slime remover and all of that. I wouldn't use any of that stuff.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of medications or like.
Nah, there's people throw everything in there. Vibrant, and they throw everything in there. There's red slime remover and there's that other stuff. ChemiClean, I think it is, or something like that. I mean, I've tried everything just for experimenting and everything, but I find that I'd rather use nothing. Just salt water and everybody's happy. No medications. Medications destroys their immune system.
What do you think's been the biggest or the most beneficial piece of equipment that's, you know, been like, you know, to stand the test of time that you've used?
Besides my reverse undergravel filter.
Besides the reverse, you should make them things come back.
You could still buy them, I think.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know why people don't use it. I mean, this might be the oldest tank in the world, and it's got a reverse undergravel filter on here, but nobody thinks they work. I don't know why. It's working.
Or how about this question? If you were to start over from scratch, what would you do differently? Anything?
No, because I started this tank. Remember, I moved here 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And this tank was brand new. I bought it and threw it here. And I had all my stuff in vats and everything on the floor here. And I started it the same way. I bought an undergravel filter that fit on the way here. And I put it in there with the rocks. And a lot of these rocks I made. Some of them I dove for. None of them are store-bought as far as I think, as far as I know. But when the hobby started, I was always scuba diving someplace. So I used to bring the rock home on my lap on the plane, dead. And it would stink like hell. Today they shoot. Yeah, I used to put some on my wife's lap, some on my lap, and big chunks of rock. And but today they would shoot you. You know, you didn't have to go through the metal detectors and all that nonsense. I used to bleach it in a hotel room, you know, to give you this bleach to wash your clothes with, and it used to stink like hell. And I used to bring it home, rinse it in fresh water, and throw it in the tank. Some of it's probably still in there, but most of the rock in there now I built myself out of. I bent up the PVC and I put cement on it. Because it's hollow. I like hollow rocks because you get more surface area if the rock is hollow. So probably half of the rocks in here I made, they're hollow. And you can make cool designs and you know, all this gnarly stuff out of cement, and it's free practically. Because the stuff you buy, if you buy, it makes me laugh. Sometimes I see these guys are setting up these tanks and they got 4 rocks that look like bowling balls and they're trying to make something out of it. And the rocks you buy, there's no protrusions or holes in them or anything. They're just solid rocks because they throw them up on the barges in the Caribbean, wherever they get them from. They break everything. But if you make it yourself, you can make them real delicate with all these holes and everything in them, and it comes out much better. And they're hollow, so you get surface area. They're probably full of bristle worms, mine. But the more surface area you got, the better. It's another thing people lost out on. People set up a tank with 3 little rocks on the bottom, and they wonder why everything's sick. If I put a piece of PVC in there, the fish wouldn't go near it for a month. But I see people put these quarantine tanks and they put PVC elbows in it, and the fish are going crazy and they're all dying. And then they put copper in there and they kill the ick. But then if you kill the ick, the bacteria takes over or the viruses take over and the fish gets something else. So then they put Pariza Pro or whatever, or tree stump remover or some crap in there. And then the fish die and they wonder why. And they just keep one medication after another. I don't get it, but that's the way a lot of people run their tanks. I don't believe you should run a tank on medication. I think you should run a tank on the immune system of the fish. Like they live in the ocean. They think they're in the ocean, these fish.
Do they all have names?
Yeah, hippo tang, sunburst,
Yeah, exactly.
Antheus.
Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe my grandkids probably named them, but no, I don't name them.
Yeah, my daughters used to name them when they were, when they're younger. Now they're 22 and 20, and I'm like, oh, we got some new fish. What do you want to name it? They're like, Dad, really? Like, we don't
Yeah.
want to be bothered. We don't want
No.
to hear about your stupid fish. We don't care what your coral looks like. I'm
My
like, what
daughter,
do you mean?
my daughter don't care about the fish. Like I say, though, I have to put the bubbling sunken ship in there.
Yeah.
Salt everywhere.
I have it in the back with the pumping connected to it and everything, and I have to stick it in there, and then it makes salt spray all over the lights because of the stupid bubbles. And the last time I didn't have it in there, so where's the shipwreck we gave you? I said, oh crap! I said, I took it out to clean it. Here it is, and I had to throw it in there.
Nice, nice.
Good thing they didn't give me
Like
like a little. Good thing they didn't give me a little Chinese village I had to put in there. A little.
That's
something.
like my father just says to me the other, at dinner tonight, he was like, oh, I this is what I want for Father's Day. I go, what do you mean? You got a Christmas present up there that you made me buy you, DeWalt battery operated like pruner / chainsaw. It's still sitting in the box. I go, you don't get any more gifts. The thing's been up there for 4.5 months. You haven't even opened it.
Yeah,
like,
my wife bought me everything. When I used to buy stuff for the tank, I don't buy anything for the tank anymore. But she probably bought me the tank and the pumps and the filters and all of that. But that stuff lasts forever. I don't buy any of that stuff anymore. The diatom filter I had to make because the ones they sell are garbage.
Yeah.
And they're for fresh water. This one is cool. I made it in no time at all.
Nice.
But I usually use the smaller one. It's just easier. I don't have to put powder in it. But I have to back flush it with bleach, the other one.
Gotcha.
With the undergravel filter, a couple of times a year, I have to stir it up because the gravel will get clogged if you don't stir it up, So I put a long hose on the diatom filter, and I blow out the gravel and the pores and the rocks and everything, and then you can't see an inch into the tank. It just clouds up everything. And then it cleans up and it's fine. Fish love it. And if you're ever in the ocean in a typhoon, you can never stir up your tank as much as a typhoon does. I seen an elkhorn coral as big as this house. It was upside down from a typhoon. They really blow everything around. And I think it's important in a tank to do that with, especially to clean out the pores in the live rock, because we don't normally have typhoons. And this rock is hollow, so I really gotta clean it up.
So Paul, other than your earthworms, white worms, black worms, I think clam, what other kind of foods do you use for your gut bacteria for your fish?
That's the only foods I use for my gut bacteria.
That's it.
Fish. Yeah, the clams I buy live, and I freeze. Now I've been getting them in a bait shop because you can get the big ones. The clams I buy live, and I freeze them. Because if I freeze them, your home freezer is not going to kill the bacteria, especially if you're only going to keep them a couple of months. The ones you buy in a pet shop, you could buy clams in a pet shop in those little plastic. They might have been frozen 5 years ago. There's no law on that. You could do whatever you want with that pet shop stuff. But I think you're better off buying it live, and I freeze it and then I shave. Well, before I freeze it, I slightly open the clam and put like a popsicle stick in there or something. Because if you freeze it, can't open it.
Yeah, I know.
You got to smash it with a pump hammer. But I put like a popsicle stick or something in there, and then I freeze it. So then it's easier to open. And then I just shave off, it has the consistency of like, I don't know, leather. And you shave off with a sharp knife, paper thin slices, and that's what I throw in there. But my normal food is LRS food or Rod's food or Mice's or something like that. But for the gut bacteria, I don't know if there's gut bacteria in that food. So I use the worms. And there's plenty of gut bacteria in worms, especially earthworms. They're filthy, them suckers.
You got to check out Dong Zhu's recipe. Lots of gut food there.
You got to have gut. In the ocean, fish, everything fish eats has gut bacteria and parasites. Every time a fish eats, they normally eat other fish, the fish in the ocean. Almost every fish in the ocean eats little fish. And those little fish, of course, are loaded with gut bacteria. There's no fish in the ocean eats freeze-dried food and pellets and things like that. So everything they eat has parasites in it, probably worms, intestinal worms, and bacteria. In our home tanks, most people don't feed that stuff. That's why they have to have disease forums, because they're not feeding enough gut bacteria and everything gets sick. Fish are going to get sick unless they're exposed to parasites. That's why we get shots for measles and flu and COVID and all this other nonsense.
Yeah, Dong's our resident reef keeping expert. Very intelligent man. Well beyond my pay grade. Dong starts talking at his house. I'm like, yep. I pretend I know what's going on, and then I'm walking out of there going, what the hell did he just
I'm not that technical a guy. I mean, I had fish tanks. I got a fish tank longer than anybody, but I'm not that technical a guy when it comes to, sometimes I see some of these testing sites and they're going crazy with the molecules and the atoms and all these different chemicals and boron and kryptonite and all these things. That goes over. That goes over my head. There's what's his name, Randy, the chemist on the site there. Yeah, he goes crazy with all of these chemicals and stuff. And I don't even know if he has a tank, but he goes crazy with that stuff.
I haven't talked to him in years. He was local to us for a long time, and
there's Randy and there's Jay. Jay, forgot what his name is, but Jay doesn't have a tank. Jay runs an aquarium. He works in like a public aquarium. If you got a 50,000 gallon tank, it's different than this tank.
Right.
It's like the ocean. It's different. These small tanks, diseases are a different problem in these small tanks. But if you keep the fish immune like these are, the disease is a non-issue. I don't care about disease. I want disease in there to keep the fish immune. People think I'm nuts when I say that. And a lot of times I put on the site, anybody, anywhere could take any sick fish they want with any disease they want, throw it in this tank. I don't care. I welcome the diseases for the immunity. Humblefish came over. You know Humblefish?
Yeah,
we know Bobby.
You know Bobby. He came over here about 8 months ago. And I told him, let's go to the pet shop and you could pick out any sick fish you want and throw it in here. I don't care how many spots it has on, or I don't care what it has. So we went to my dirty fish store friend, but we couldn't find a sick fish sick enough. So all I could buy is a coral. I threw the coral in there while I was here, but I didn't do anything to it. I just took it out of the bag and threw it in the tank. And he was like, he almost hit the floor when he did that, but because he's into, before he puts a fish in a tank, I mean, he's practically fillets that fish. Yeah. There's nothing left of that fish before he puts it in the tank.
Him and his wife were up here in Boston a couple of years ago, and we were going to take them out to dinner, and like 2 days before, like we had the reservation, this fancy place, and the club was going to take them out, the offices of the club, and it was like 2 days before I tested positive for COVID. And I was like, nice. We just saved a couple of bucks by getting COVID.
They were here a couple of days. Nice people.
Yeah.
I like him. I fool around with him all the time, but he's totally opposite me.
Yeah, he comments a lot, when people have issues with, fish and questions, and
he's all into medication. Everything's medication, and like if you put a fish in a brand new tank. Matter of fact, we went to a wake the other day, and my friend's kid told me he started a reef tank. I'm saying, oh no, don't ask me no questions about this. They're going to die.
Yeah,
because I know he started it with dry rock, with artificial seawater. He's probably got 20 tanks in there and acropora in there. I know the thing is going to crash. He's going to call me up. What do I do? Throw it out. There's nothing you can do. And like Bobby would say, to treat all of those fish in some kind of medication. But the fish are not sick. The fish are sick of your tank because it's not set up right. They're scared. you know, if they don't have the hiding places to hide, if all the rocks are like stark white and you got this bright light on it, they're scared to death, these fish. If they could make facial expressions, you could see that they would be petrified. And that's what makes them get sick. Their immunity is out the window when the fish get scared like that. People too. I mean, the people that used to be in the concentration camps in Japan in the cells and everything, most of them used to get sick and die from the stress. They weren't sick. They didn't have diseases, but the stress would kill them. And that's what happens to fish. See, these fish in here, they think they're in the ocean. They're not hiding. They're swimming around doing whatever it is they do. Most of them are spawning. There's probably, I don't know, there's probably 10 fish in there that are spawning because most fish, all female fish fill with eggs all the time when they're healthy. Not in a medicated or quarantine tank, but if they're healthy, female fish fill with eggs all the time. It's just what they do. And if you put them in a tank where they feel safe, they'll spawn. You might not be able to raise the babies, but they'll spawn. Them stupid 30-year-old clownfish, they spawn every week. I'm jealous.
Nice.
The blue stripes are spawning, the mandarins spawn, the ruby reds are spawning. Almost except for the tangs and stuff like that. All the bottom fish spawn all the time. And if they're not spawning, they're not healthy. It's just what fish do constantly, And
my clowns spawn like every 10 to 15 days.
Yeah, that's what they're supposed to do. These are 34 years old and they still spawn every 10 to 15 days. And it takes a lot of energy for a fish to spawn because if you go fishing and you cut open a fish and it's got eggs in it, those fish could be a quarter of the weight of the fish. There's a lot of eggs, and those eggs are mostly oil. So it takes a lot of calories to make those eggs for that fish. And if you're not feeding them right, like if you're giving them flakes and nori, they're going to have a hard time making eggs. And if they're not making eggs, they're not healthy. Healthy fish filled with eggs. And if there's no male or something like that, they'll just lay them or reabsorb them or something or eat them. I don't know what the hell they do with them, but. And you'll see every once in a while there's a fish in it gets all fat, even if there's no male in it, and then they get skinny again. Mandarins spawn constantly. Most people can't even keep the damn things. I don't know why, but if you got a tank set up for them, you don't have to do anything with the mandarins. You just throw them in there and they live forever. Or 10 years anyway. I can't keep them much longer than that. These two fish, are these on the right side of your tank or the left? These one over here.
Right side.
That's those are sunburst antheas. There's two of them in there, but they must be both males or something. They don't bother with each other and they just stay together, but they never spawn. They just stay there. I don't know what the hell they are. They must be the same sex, but one stays bigger and one stays smaller. They've been there about 4 years.
Yeah.
But one of them, the guy in the expensive store wanted $125 for it. The other guy gave me for $25 in the dirty store.
Sounds like when I'm ready for some fish, I should take over the ferry and
go to the dirty store.
Go to the dirty store with you.
Yeah, I'm going there tomorrow. That's where I got the red what do you call those things? The red fin wasp fish. They're cool. I got 3 of them in there.
Yeah.
They're cool. But you got to get them from the right store because they could be very expensive. I'd never seen them before last year. Before last year, I'd never seen them things. Red fin wasp fish. They're cool though. I mean, if I could bring I can't see them. If I could bring the camera over there, you could see them. They stay right in the front.
One of the guys in the club texted me the other day. Well, there's a couple of us in a group, and it's got some Madagascar clowns. They're like 500 a fish. He's like, I was selling coral last week. He goes, I can't find the clownfish anywhere. I'm like, of course they were
$500 for a clownfish.
$500 each,
$500 for a clownfish.
Yeah,
I hate clownfish. I hate clownfish. This stupid fire clown I bought 34 years ago, I thought it was a hawkfish. It was a baby. It was a little half-inch baby, and it looks something like a tomato clown, but it's a little different. And it looked like a red hawkfish. So I says, oh, I'll take the hawkfish, like $15 or something like that. And then as it got older, I said, that ain't no hawkfish. And I looked it up. It's a fire clown. You never see fire clowns.
Yeah.
I've seen maybe 2 of them besides these stupid things I got in here. And they seem to live forever. I wish the damn thing would croak. I hate them.
I had a pair, had them for 8.5 years. Buddy of mine got in an accident, became paralyzed. I gave him a fish tank, right? Gave him that pair of clowns. Within 2 months, he killed them. I was like, bro, I'm like, they lived through 9 years of hell in my care, and now they're dead in yours.
I don't know how you can kill clownfish. You got to run them over. They're like dominoes and blue devils. You can't kill them damn fish. Damselfish you can't kill. If you kill a clownfish, you really got a sick tank. You can't kill them damn things. I mean, this one probably jumped on the floor a few times and nothing ever happens to him. The tank, the water went down 7 inches. The water, it was so salty in there. I don't know. Nothing ever dies, which I'm kind of happy about. The only way they die is they jump out. They jump out once in a while. I think I got that down to a science now. I haven't lost a fish in a long time, but there's no cover on that. So healthy fish, unfortunately, jump out, especially when they're spawning.
I had a fox face one time. I heard it flopping, sitting here watching YouTube or something, 2, 3 in the morning. And I heard a big splash. But sometimes, I'll get up and I'll go to the bathrooms in the other room, kind of, flip the light on, this fish gets spooked or whatever. Heard a big splash. So I was like, oh, no, no big deal, whatever. And then, well, 2, 3, 4 minutes, 30 seconds later, I hear flopping around. I'm like, what the hell is that?
You didn't pick them up with your hand. You didn't pick them up, did you?
No. I was looking. I had to pick them up with a spatula or a pair of tongs because
I got stung by one of them once. I thought I was going to die.
Oh.
I stuck my hand in the tank and he jumped out of the tank and he landed on my hand. Just very, hardly touched me. I thought I was going to die. It was freaking hot. It's like fire coral. I don't know if you ever got stuck with fire coral.
No.
Fire coral, you think somebody's got a propane torch on your arm. It's terrible. Yeah, and that's what them damn fox faces feel like.
Yeah, every time I had one that I'd put my hand in the tank, I'd make one of my daughters like stand and look on the short side of the tank. I'd be like, you tell me if he's getting close to my arm. That's all.
Yeah, they won't attack you, but man, they hurt like hell.
Those clownfish attack you all the time, though.
Well, I got to wear two pairs of gloves when I put my hand in this tank. Yeah. He draws blood, this damn thing.
Those fire clowns that I had, my daughter, she was young, probably 5 or 6 at the time. She thought it was funny. Fish would bite me, right? I'd be like, so she thought she was smart. So she hovered her hand probably about an inch over the surface of the water. That friggin' fish, the female, I mean, it was probably 3 inches, good sized fish. It shot up and bit her and drew blood.
These things
she was a little kid. She cried, but I thought it was hilarious.
These things will jump out.
Talk shit, get bit, kid,
I use these things.
Yep.
I feed everything with this, especially like those wasp fish. They only eat worms. They eat earthworms, and I can't just throw the earthworm in there. They would never get to the bottom. So I stick this in there, and he sticks his mouth right in the edge of the tube here, and he sucks the worm right out of here. Because otherwise, the 6-line wrasses eat them. You can't just put food in there. I always feed with this. I never throw food in there.
Yeah.
I
usually get bumps, once or twice a week by the Niger trigger, but hasn't drawn any blood yet. I don't think it can open its mouth that wide, but
I have to put 2 pairs of gloves on because that clownfish will tear my fingers off.
Let's see it. Hey, let's see it live. Let's see it live. You got Cash App or PayPal?
If I stick my finger in there now, he bite me.
Yeah, I bet.
He's probably watching me now, waiting to see if I stick my hand in there.
You gotta threaten your grandkids when they give you a hard time over the bubbler thing while it ain't in the tank.
Yeah, I wish he would bite that thing.
Dangle their hands over the tank when they're being fresh,
Yeah, the kids used to like the fish. Now they pass by and they say hello and they don't care anymore. Now they're 10 and 12, I think.
Yeah, they're too cool at this point, right?
No, they're way too cool. My granddaughter, forget about it. So my grandson, I got to take him fishing Sunday.
Nice. That'll be fun. Yeah, the guy that just lost the Madagascar clowns that just disappeared sent me a picture last week, and he was like, made a presentation. His son's 5 or 6. It was show and tell day at school. I goes, your son into it? Does he like the tank? He goes, no, he thinks everybody has one of these in their house. And he's got like a 480 gallon system or something, 480 gallon tank.
I caught 2 of these fish with a hook to get him out of the tank. Yeah, there's a video of it. One was an angelfish, a big queen angel, big queen angelfish last year. A friend of mine gave it to me. I didn't want the damn thing. And he says, you got to put them in your tank. He brought it over. What am I going to do with this damn thing? It was big. It was like 5 inches, way too big.
Yeah.
It was a Korean angel. And I don't really like angelfish anyway, and he was too big. So he threw it in there, and I said, I got to get rid of this fish. So I made a little tiny hook out of a pin, and I caught him. And I threw him in a bucket. I brought him to the dirty fish store. And I had a wrasse, a big, I don't know, bluehead wrasse or something. I caught him with the hook too. There's a video on YouTube about that. Because you can't get, how are you going to get a fish out of the tank? There's no way to get a fish out of it. You got to take everything out. That ain't going to happen. I'll just let him die in there.
Right.
I guess I could spear him. I have a trap, but the big fish won't go in there. I make everything for the tank. I made a trap, but the big fish ain't going to go in there. You might catch a clownfish or something.
Hey, Paul, other than your sponges, what are some of the biggest problems you faced with your tank?
Other than the sponges, the sponge was horrible. I can't think of anything. I mean, a couple of times it was overrun with those flatworms. They were completely covered everything, but they were there for a couple of months and they disappeared. I don't use flatworm exit and all that stuff. I don't know what happened. They just disappeared. And I had a hell of a lot of cyano in there. It was so long, it was going up to the surface and everything. And that happened after I got rid of the sponge, and that disappeared. I haven't really had anything else happen to the tank in all those years. There's no diseases. Once in a while, it looks like a produce farm, and algae will grow over everything, but that's because of the water I get out here. And sometimes you get covered in aptasia, but the copper band butterflies usually eat that. I don't think I've ever had a big problem in the tank that I could think of. I don't. Once I killed most of the fish because I changed the water. And when I used to collect natural seawater, I used to put Clorox in it. I thought I was killing parasites or something a long time ago. Stupid me. And I put Clorox in there, but I put new fresh scent Clorox in there, which it's like a real potent fish poison, whatever it is. So I started changing the water and all the fish started jumping out. I says, what happened? But then I realized that you're supposed to if you use regular Clorox, it's fine. It, dissipates and nothing happens. But whenever they put new fresh scent Clorox, good thing I didn't change all the water, but I killed most of the fish. The only fish that still lived from there is that 24-year-old or 34-year-old clownfish. He's from the original batch. But most of the other fish I killed. I killed an 18-year-old cusk eel that I only seen twice in 18 years. I killed a mandarin, a few things like that with the damn Clorox. But besides that, I have never had a fish kill. I never had diseases that killed everything. I mean, maybe I did in the 70s. I don't remember. But there hasn't been a disease in here, and I don't know. I can't remember. A communicable disease. I mean, fish die every once in a while from, some kind of swim bladder thing or something weird, but no ick or velvet or Brooklynina or whatever the hell that. I don't even know what the hell that is. If your fish are immune, they don't die from anything. So
have you ever had to deal with the old dinoflagellates that everybody seems to have to deal with?
Well, last year, like I said, after I got rid of the sponge, I put it outside to kill the sponge and everything. But that dead sponge was still in the rock. And I put it all back in the tank. I started out in a few weeks. It looked beautiful. The tank was nice and clean. There was no sponge and everything. And then I got them damn dinos. They're freaking horrible.
Yes,
I almost had to flush the whole tank out. It was disgusting. And they would grow from the bottom all the way up to the surface with bubbles and everything on it. It was terrible. And they kept diatoming them. Eventually, they disappeared. But it took about 6 months. It was horrible. And then algae took over the tank. The algae killed the dinoflagellates, and then I had to get rid of the algae. But now it calmed down. But that was all because I killed the sponge. Once you do something like that, you kill all that organic matter, and you leave it. If I would have thrown it away, it would have been okay if I threw all that rock out. But I cleaned the rock and I left it in the tank with there was a lot of dead sponge on it, and it grew everything. And that sponge was giving me a lot of problems. It also killed a lot of my SBS because that sponge has a toxin in it. And when you cut that sponge, like a lot of times I would try to cut it to take it out, it would ooze this white stuff. And I didn't think too much of it. So one day my friend next door came over and I says, well, let's cut as much of this sponge out as we could. So we're cutting sponge all over the place. And the SBS started dying right in front of my eyes. It turned into, had like a film grown over it, and they just died because of the sponge. There's like a toxin in that sponge. It's why it's one reason there's no SPS in it. So now, after I got rid of all the sponge and everything, I ran some kind of carbon in there, 0.8 something carbon. First, I tried polyfilters, and it didn't do anything to the toxins from the coral. And the ozone doesn't seem to do anything to the toxins in the corals. I put this carbon, which I don't like to use. It's called 0.8 something carbon. It's not supposed to give them HLLE and stuff like that. Matter of fact, Humboldt told me to put it in there.
The rocks 8.0.
Yeah, something like that, 8.0.
Yeah.
And it seems to have taken out that sponge toxin, and now everything's growing like crazy. But before that, it wouldn't grow much because that's toxin from the sponge was killing everything. But I stupidly put that sponge in. You know, when somebody gave it to me and said, "Look at this cool sponge. You put it in there, it grows like crazy." Yeah, it looked nice, but it covers everything. If it stayed where you put it, it would be okay. But it's terrible stuff. As a matter of fact, I think I brought some to your meeting and gave it to somebody when I was there.
Nice.
That's
Hey, Corey, that's probably that plate in purple blue sponge that
Tim's trying to give away.
It's a plating. I gave it to somebody. It might have been in your thing. I hope the guy didn't plant it. He's probably out of the hobby now if he did.
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that. Our past
He
president from like 2018, he was always trying to either give it away or like sell $5 pieces for big.
Yeah, I gave a bunch of it away. I don't know if it was from your. I gave it to somebody, and I spoke a few times. I gave it.
He just shut his system down within the last year.
It's terrible stuff. It's beautiful. It's like if you only have like a fish only tank with no corals and that stuff, it's beautiful. It looks like blue Montipora. It plates. It's very pretty, but you can't put coral in it. It grows up with a coral.
Tom, do you have any of that?
Yeah, but I don't think that's the same sponge as Paul described. Maybe it look alike because I never see any substance coming out of the sponge when I cut them. So they maybe look alike, but I don't think that's
it's like
the
a light.
same.
It's like a light blue, and it plate.
No, it's deep purple.
Oh, no, well, mine became deep purple too in some places, but it's photosynthetic. It only grows on the surface of the rocks where the light is.
Well, the many sponge actually they look alike, but they're quite different because I cut those the sponge I have left and right, so I never see any side effect. And also that nothing ooze out of it.
Is it invasive? Is it invasive? Does it grow over the corals?
I don't think it grow over coral. It grow pretty slow actually for me for the blue sponge I have.
Well,
they
if it starts growing fast, get rid of it. That stuff will cover your whole house.
Yeah, I wish the mine will do that, but it doesn't. So for example, it takes about a year to grow from you take a frag about a 1 inch diameter, you probably take a year to grow to about 3 to 4 inch.
Oh, in a year, this would have taken over this whole room here, the whole house.
Yeah, so I think that they look alike, but it definitely probably is not the same sponge.
I used to cut like a gallon of it out every couple of months. Like
that definitely is not the same thing.
That sounds invasive.
Yeah,
terrible invasive stuff. I mean, I got it in the fish store. The guy says, "Here, try this blue sponge." I said, "Okay." I have a lot of sponges. Sponges look pretty cool, and they filter the water and everything. That if it didn't cover everything, it would be great. And if it didn't have,
so I wish mine grow faster, but they definitely don't.
Well, I gave you some of my old one. I gave it to somebody in your club over there. I don't know.
Well, I don't want it. You can kill SPS.
I don't have. I was so surprised I got rid of it, and I don't have any of it left. I was really surprised because there's a lot of rocks in it. I mean, I had to take it out. And I wire brushed it in salt water to get most of it off, and then I put it outside in the freezing cold in the winter for a couple of months, and that killed it.
Huh. Yeah, mine I can kill mine. Just leave it out for maybe like 5 minutes out of water. They're dead.
No, not this one. This you can leave 5 months out of the water; it'll grow back.
There's so many variety there. So that
could burn it.
Yeah.
I used to know the name for it. I looked it up. I don't know what the name is. It's a photosynthetic plating sponge. I don't know where the hell it comes from. It's terrible.
So when you cut it and there's a white stuff coming out of it?
If you cut it, there was, yeah, you could see like a some kind of chemical coming out of it.
Oh, wow.
And it, if you don't, the lights went off on my tank. What the hell time is it?
9:09.
9
Oh, it's
o'clock.
9:09. I didn't know it was that late. Okay, so I guess the lights went out. I didn't know the lights go out at 9:09. I'm never down here at 9:09. They're on a timer. The time is probably still on daylight savings time or whatever the hell time it used to be.
Yeah.
But
Do you have anything pressing you wanna share with us, or
anything
like
pressing?
that, Paul? I don't want to keep you forever. I mean, I'll sit here all night. I have nothing to do.
I'm
but
retired. Anybody got any more? Anybody got any more questions? There's nothing.
I'm retired as well, Paul. Just not by choice.
No, the main thing, like I said, was the, I told you, I just wrote a long thing on all the forums about how to keep the fish immune with the gut bacteria and the holes in the rocks and the medications and all of that crap. I wrote it on your forum too.
Yeah, I'm gonna share the link in the chat right now so everyone can see it again.
It's on, what's it called? How to keep fish immune forever or something like that.
How to set up a tank to be immune where the fish never get a communicable disease.
That might be it, yeah.
In my opinion, in your opinion.
I always write in my opinion because this way everybody argues with me. No, it's impossible to have immune fish. Everybody, they say they can't be immune. They only could be resistant. I said, I would think they would be resistant if one fish ever got sick. Then I would say they're not immune, they're resistant. But one fish never got sick in I don't know how many years. So that to me, that means 100% immune.
Right. Well, you know the old saying, I won't repeat it here, but
I know.
Opinions are like something everyone has one, right?
Yeah, I mean, and you could see like I have pictures of this tank with film cameras. I don't know if you know what film is. It's like
yeah, of course, guy. I was born in the 70s.
Okay.
I'm kind of old.
I got my socks in the 70s.
Me too.
Anyway, that fire clown, the one that's 34 years old, I took the first picture of him with film camera. You can still see him in my old pictures with the film camera. And he's still immune. I mean, he's never been sick. If you could have a fish 34 years, he's immune. I mean, right. Yeah, with all the fish, I must have thrown 100 fish in there in the last 43 years, 50, what I say, 53 years, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
So I think everything is immune. I can put all the parasites in there I want. It doesn't make any difference. I threw a copper band in there once with loaded with parasites. I have it on the site here. Nothing happened. I threw a little clown goby in there. There was so many parasites on that fish, you couldn't see the fish. They went away. He lived in there for 7 or 8 years, whatever it was. The parasites don't mean anything to me. Seems like the lights went out of sound. It got quiet too. Well, the pumps are still running. That's a good sign.
Well, that's good.
I didn't know the lights went out. It's probably, like I said, I probably didn't set the clock back an hour or whatever the hell it is.
So, Paul, you want to do the raffle?
Yes, sir. I'm gonna share our screen so whoever the people that were here or that are here, I believe there's 20 of us. I just lost my tab.
Oh yeah, you got a copy of my book there?
I don't have a copy of your book, but I'm gonna order a copy and I'm gonna ship it
Direct ship.
Whoever wins. So where is share screen?
The green button.
Oh, I'll not share it yet.
This is the original book cover. It's different now because this publisher went out of business.
Okay.
And this was in color, but I understand now that the new book is not in color. It's in black and white. I didn't know that. I ordered color, but it's black and white.
Huh.
And I don't get them. If I want one, I got to order them like everybody else.
Like the Majano ones, right?
I don't get them either. Well, I guess I could get those if I want. But these books here, like I said, all the money goes to charity. I don't keep a nickel of this money. And I publish the receipts on all these sites.
Nice. That's awesome of you.
Goes to MS in my wife's name. She's got MS. I mean, it sells pretty good for a fish book. And, you know, I only get like $3 or $2 when they sell a book. I don't know what it sells, about 20 something dollars. And most people buy it in like an ebook. So I only get like a nickel or something.
Right. It's always something, right? But all right, guys, I'm gonna share the screen here, the wheel of names, so y'all can see my 147 tabs. I'm gonna spin it 3 times, so there's gonna be
Oh,
2
that's cool.
burns, and then the third's gonna be the winner. All right, here we go.
Where the hell did you get that thing from?
Tech-
Wheelofnames.com. All right, so the first one, Doug Murray, that's burnt. Number
Wah,
2.
wah.
So is that how many people are on here now?
Yeah, there's 20 of
Yeah.
us currently.
Okay.
Sweet. Thank you.
Number 2. Oh, Chris Sturgis.
Wah, wah.
Wah,
So sorry.
wah.
All right, this is for all the glory, guys. Ready? Oh, technical.
If you're a previous
difficulties.
winner,
Wait, where's my name?
if you're
I
a
don't even
previous
see me
winner,
on
it
this
doesn't
list.
count.
All right, Bendel, if you are here, send me a private message, your address, so I don't have to look it up. And you'll get a copy of Paul's book, The Avant-Garde.
I have no idea what these books sell for.
I don't either.
I
I
don't know.
do.
Find out real quick. Where's it on Amazon, Paul?
Yeah, just click, you can click the link right in the post, Paul,
Oh, yeah. What are they, about $24, something like that?
something like that.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
you want me to look on 47 other tabs over here?
And they used to be in color, now they're black and white, and they're still the same price. I don't know why.
I tell you a story, right? Real quick. I bought a algae book or something, Julian Sprung, 20 years ago. Nice hardcover, da-da-da. That's $30 on Amazon. But if you get it on the Kindle and you have Amazon Prime, it's $0.
I get it for free.
Yeah, the
I-
Kindle. I'm reading a
bought a-
couple books on Kindle now.
I bought the book on, algae, just to have, add it back to the collection. Because years ago, I got out of the hobby and I donated all the hardcover books I had, Reef Aquarium Volumes 1 through 3, Set Corals of the World, et cetera, and donated them to the club, like back in like 2005 or 6, somewhere like that. And then, we used to have a library. Somebody would be in charge of media and books like that. Somewhere in the time that I wasn't involved with the club or participating, they decided they don't want to have the library anymore, and they had it raffled.
Auctioned it off.
Thousands of dollars of like Bibles on reef keeping for like 47 cents or something like that. So I was like, well, it'd be nice to have a book collection again. Let me stock up. So I ordered this Julian Sprung algae book, and it came this little like 4x6 paperback piece of junk. I was like, the hell is this? And it was like the same money as the hardcover. I was like, yeah, no, never again, so I don't buy books anymore after that. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, Paul. I appreciate you, taking the time out of your night here, to talk to us. Learn some good stuff, had some laughs, but I'm gonna reach out.
How many people are there that were in the meeting when I was there?
I think Corey was there. I wasn't there at the time.
Corey was there. That's
I was there.
the only thing I know of right there. Because
Yeah, I think I'm probably the only one, Paul.
I was
Yeah,
probably in,
yeah,
I
I
was
think,
probably in state prison at that time.
we have friends in Boston, so we went up to visit them that time.
Yeah, we'll have to have you up sometime when the water gets nice.
When I go visit my friend. One of them lives in Lynn, and I forgot where the other one lives.
That's where Corey. Oh, I don't want to tell on YouTube, but I already did. Corey lives in Lynn.
Okay.
He'll take you. He'll take you to all the nicer areas of Lynn.
Got a couple of friends there. All right. Well, take it easy.
Yeah, thanks again, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for
really
having me.
appreciate it. I'm gonna reach out to you on the forum and get your address.
Thanks, Paul.
And, send you a care package anyways. So thanks, guys.
Thank
Hey,
you.
I
you.
heard you before. I didn't see you.
Everybody take care.
You didn't see me?
Right.
Who you didn't see?
Oh, I didn't see him either.
I'm lost. Yeah, it's only when they unmute their mic and they talk, they'll pop up on your screen.
Okay.
So if they don't unmute and talk, you won't see them. Unfortunately, you just have to look at my pretty face the whole
Yeah,
time.
we do Zoom calls here with the HOA. There's about 300 of us here.
Gotcha. But all right, Paul, I'm gonna send you a message on the thing. Thank you again. Greatly appreciate it.
Okay. Nice talking to you guys.
Have a good the rest of your night.